me just while I get it in the right position. So Hamish and Milo is an it's really an emotions curriculum, actually. It really does cover a whole depth of emotional elements that sits alongside PSHE, but it's also very much an SEMH intervention. As you can see from this screen, and I'll just talk through this in a bit more detail, there are 10-week programs. So this is one of them. They come in boxes like that. This is the one, if you can see my cursor, this is called Calm Me. So it's around anxiety, and I'll talk through each of those, but literally they come in a box. They're sort of 10-week programs. And we're also working alongside the University of Bath for a research project, which is why I'm more excited to talk to you about, to kind of give you a flavour of what that might look like and how we're working with schools, basically to look at what the impact is of how we can really support children with deeper levels of emotional difficulties, children that have more adverse childhood experiences. This is very much a trauma-informed and attachment-aware resource. I'm a trainer for Trauma Informed Schools UK. I'm also an educational psychotherapist, as well as being a teacher, working in special educational needs and specialist provision, alternative provision, when I was working in Newham and also down in Dorset. So my experience, not to kind of raise it really, but just to show that it's based on all of those layers really of working with children that need more than a PSHE curriculum can offer, that really supports the adults that are working in schools to be able to have deeper level of content of which to help children develop skills, but also to have the safety and the psychoeducation around how to support children with deeper level of emotional difficulties or feelings, or the normalness of just living through life, because it can be so tough. So our real mission is to support children to feel happy, heard and connected. That is the whole premise really, so that children feel that they're really listened to, they're really understood and not missed, and that we understand behaviour as distress really, or as underlying unmet need. And the connection is about the quality of the relationships of key adults that do small group work, intervention work. It might be one-to-one, it might be a nurture base, it might be some small group intervention that isn't just a 5-minute here and there, but is qualitative because it follows a progression and goes into layers of depth. So it really is about supporting those more vulnerable children. I'm going to jump on, but the other key here is about the fact that this is very much working with the University of Bath to gather data, which will then go back to schools, but also will look at national trends around supporting children's emotional well-being through this intervention. So just again briefly, and I could talk for a long time and I won't bore you, but as I've said, each of these are 10-week themes. They literally have all the details you need in a box, the detailed session plans, also supporting resources for parents, a well-being measure profiling tool as well, which is what's digital and what we'll be using with the University of Bath. But you can see there the range. I don't need to talk it through in detail, but conflict resolution, the one is called Actions, Words and Me. It's this purple one, and it really goes into what's underneath conflict as well. So not just anger, but hurt, betrayal. It really goes into the depth and gives children scripts of how to understand empathy, how to have scripts of understanding two sides of any one difficulty, and looking at developing empathy. So it's quite vast. And again, celebrating me is diversity, what it feels like if you feel different. So it covers bullying, it covers levels of stereotyping and discrimination, but also how to stand up for who you are, so that it really looks at the layers of how it feels when you feel you don't fit in. That's kind of the premise. Resilience is a big buzzword these days, but also it's understanding that children mask their feelings and they look like they're managing, but actually how do we get them to understand how to overcome obstacles, how to ask for help, how to recognise steps along the way, how to manage perseverance, but also not feel that they are masking deeper feelings that then leak out through difficult behaviour. I've talked about anxiety, it's a big one. And again, 10 weeks that looks at some CBT, but mostly about expression of feelings, the neurology of panic attacks and how we understand what's happening to us physiologically. So this doesn't just do surface. This is what I'm really trying to get over. Sadness is a big one. It's probably one of the hardest ones because we don't always let children grieve. We want to make them feel happier without sometimes allowing them to recognise that actually it's really important to be able to release some really difficult feelings. And we have children that have losses that are in their early years and that then manifest through later and long-term depression. So this really helps express, look at, give permission to feel feelings. Change and transition, new beginnings and me. And again, this isn't just the end of a year, new teacher. It's about unwanted change, sudden changes. You come home and mum and dad have split up. That's a sudden change, but the parents have been preparing for that. The children have a sudden awareness. And how do you manage that? How do you accept change? How do you say goodbye to something as well as opening up to a new beginning? So it really is more detailed. Loss and bereavement, the one we have there, it's the green one, which is called Memories and Me. And again, it deals with grief cycles, the range of losses, and also helps lots of ways to create memories, to trigger neurochemicals which are about healing through loss. Okay, Amazing Me is the orange one, hugely about self-esteem, but understanding our own self-worth, how we need to feel we matter, what are the elements of self-worth, how do we support ourselves, how does our earliest relationships impact on our self-esteem. So again, 10 weeks of that. Friendship is a massive one because so many children are told, oh, play with someone else or you'll be fine tomorrow. And we look at qualities of friendship, we look at healthy relationships. We don't always help children with when friendship is betraying, or when a friend really lets us down or hurts us, or helps children say, I feel when you and I need. And lots of scripts around that, being able to really make those sustained relationships and know how to manage and navigate the kind of friction around relationships. And the final one, Exploding Me, strong emotions and anger, so the red one. But again, this one very much is about giving permission to feel angry, really trying to say to children, you know, it's a really important threat response system and we need to recognize it, we need to know what's happening physiologically and then learn ways to safely expel it. So again, it really does show depth. And I'm trying to just do a win whistle stop tour really before I tell you about the bath part, but also if you can see, it's 10 session cards. They're really detailed, they're laminated so you can use them again and again, but they really follow this structure: a welcome, a check-in, about really helping kids feel safe and that they're loved and cared about within that small group work. There's a focus moment which pulls them into the session content. Then the insight focus is down here, which usually tells the adults some of the key bits of psychoeducation we want to draw out through the discussion and as a guide really. And then a creative activity on the back. Sometimes it's role play, sometimes it's creative arts, sometimes it's a bit more wacky than that, but just mostly about helping them process the learning. And then there's always opportunity for reflection, because this is really key in that self-development and self-awareness. And we've got supporting resources that go with it, so little reflective journals. There's lots. I don't need to tell you all of that, but you know, if you want to know more, I'm more than happy to talk to you. We use sock puppets. Every child has a sock puppet as part of the pack, and we really use them as a therapeutic tool. So it's creative and it's innovative, as well as us offering ways that parent leaflets and booklets that the parents have a shared language. It's written in ways that isn't condescending or patronizing, but just says, actually, we're in this together. This is what we're going to be talking about with your children. This is what you might like to talk about with them or share with them, so that they have an understanding. So that's the resource in a very big, small nutshell, really. But the other thing that I'm most excited about is we have the opportunity to work with cohorts of schools, which is why I'm very excited to work with Barking and Dagenham. We are working with schools now in another London borough, which is just about to bring on board, and Essex, as well as Bristol, Dorset, Hampshire, and Kent as well. We're working with virtual schools across Kent, and we are having cohorts where we're really, as you can see, gathering data that will be fed back to the individual school about their children, completely anonymously and GDPR protected, but also, as I said earlier, will show trends. Oh, also Lancashire, we've got a cohort of schools, I think 12 schools there that have just started using the resource, and we're supporting them in this programme. So the idea is that we are literally going to be working with the Department of Psychology. Clinical psychologists are working on this team. One of the clinical psychologists is working in a secure unit for children with extreme social, emotional, mental health difficulties, as well as another guy that's working in CAMS. So again, at the real point of let's look at what difference we can make. It's a 4-strong team led by Professor Richard Joyner, and as I've said, the idea will be impacting that data back to schools as well. And the aim is for this to be published as to show the difference it's making to children. So of course it's important for us at Hamish and Milo, but actually it's more important that we get this right for children, which is why we need the data, we need the schools on board, but we want to support that process. So as part of this whole approach, we're offering a year-long support. So we're asking schools to just literally do 3 of the programmes. So 3, you don't have to do all of them, but have the resource and then choose as it fits best across your school. And then small groups of children, maybe 6 children for an hour a week doing this intervention, 1 intervention per term, or if you've got more support staff that can do this work, we've got some schools that use it as their whole intervention across their whole school, so they're running 4 groups a week. Some have just got 1 ELSA or 1 support as TA that's doing this work, so it's just 1. We will do a whole session for senior leaders so that you understand how the data is being collated. And then we offer what we call explorer sessions, where we go into a bit more depth than I've done today, and then half-termly supervision sessions. So we are really looking at schools just buying the resource, which is £895 for the whole thing. That's like over 100 lesson plans, all of the supporting sock puppet kits, all of the journals, the leaflets, and all of that training included. So there is no extra cost for training at all. And the idea is to build a network so that that hub within a local authority, within an academy trust, within a cluster of schools really builds a depth of that work, so that you look at this long term. It's not just about the project, but obviously we want to collate that data. So we have got very explicit wellbeing profiles, which are questionnaires which are specific to the theme. And I'm going to just click onto this one actually, because we have a specialized hub within our website, and I might be able to even click on that in a minute if it will do it. And we basically are only collecting this data, a school profile, which just give us the demographics around exclusions and attendance, and how many looked after children, and how many children that have had a social worker within their life experience, so that we try to get those trends, as I've said, across. And so we collect that data in the first instance from schools, and then we use the strengths and difficulties questionnaires per child, which is just a quick pre and post intervention. And then we use wellbeing profiles, which are our tool, which literally gives descriptors of the way behaviours present with a pre and post. It's really easy to fill in. You've got paper copies of it, but it's also digitalised, and then a child's voice. So I don't know if I can quickly show you. It might work actually. Let's see. You'll see that there's literally a hub on our website, which does, it's a bit slow, but I'm just going to try and let you see it. Yeah, it's not going to let me go into that, I don't think. Let me see. It would be annoying if it doesn't work right now, because we've just been resetting it today. I'm hoping it's going to work. It's just typical timing, but fingers crossed. You'll see. Yeah, there you go. That's so annoying. One more try. But basically, all of the questionnaires are on our website. They are very easy to get into. Every child has a code that you, I'm just got to concentrate on putting that in. So it's a protected code password for the people that were in this hub. There you go. Great, it's worked. So you'll see. We basically take you into the hub. It's everything you need as a result of this. Then you'll see the school profile questionnaire. It's just a quick just like you click in and you just literally fill it in as you go through. You can see it's quite simple. What I want to show you mostly though are these well-being. So if you were doing, for example, Exploding Me, you fill in one of these per child. It tells you how to create the code, but I'm just going to go straight through as if we've done that. You can see it's very simple. You just click whether the child is looked after, SEND, whatever, pre-intervention date and a post-intervention date, and then just some of the behaviours that you see and the kind of level of how often that is, and then some of the protective factors. This is specific to the Exploding Me one, as you can see, and then just some observations. All you do then is to click that you agree to us holding that for the university and submit. So it's so easy. I'm not going to spend any more time on that, but I just wanted to hopefully just give you that sense of what this resource is like. I don't know if I can just go back to the final bit of the PowerPoint just to show you. Bear with me, sorry, all these technical things. We have other supporting resources on the website which we would be able to support you with, say planning journals and things like that. We've got a time frame where we support you again to think about when you're submitting information, how you're setting up groups, and that's pretty much it. So I've just put that last slide up, to be honest, because it shows you the website. Please do have a look at it. It's got way more information than I've been able to do in just a short amount of time, and hopefully just gives you a bit more insight into the whole resource. So I'm going to stop, and I hope that that was not too wind whistle and it was useful enough to understand the project as well as the programme. Thank you.
That was very, very informative, Claire. Thank you very much. I think, you know, hopefully people recognise why it is that we're bringing this resource to share with you, because we think actually it's there, and the rigour behind it, the programmes will really benefit our children. Any questions from anybody for Claire?
I saw there was one about the time frame, and you know, if you're
Yes.
part of the project, it's literally across from September, or obviously if some schools are going to come board for October, so there's a way that we support you to begin to run a program in the latter half term, but then it kind of carries over, so there's a staggered start for some of it, and then something's happening each term. So we have that on our website when you're in the hub, so it would be easy for me to show you that again, and we would talk it through with you in a lot more detail.
Thank you. Any more questions?
And there's something about the contact details, so I'll put my email in the chat, and also the website is www.hamishandmilo.org, and I'll put that in as well.
And I will send all this stuff out first thing tomorrow morning as well, so that everybody's had access to it. Can I just ask a quick question, Claire?
Yeah.
How, because I mean, I recognise I've got some secondary colleagues here as well. I wonder how appropriate some of it might be for our incoming year sevens.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, we're seeing a lot of that being used as a nurture, year 7 nurture based type approach. You know, we've got children that have missed 2 years of schooling that are socially and emotionally, this is stage not age. We've got children using this resource in reception as well as year 7. We've got some special schools using this resource who have got non-verbal children, because it's written for the adults to have the levels of content, and then you obviously look at the needs of your children, you match the groupings. Sometimes we have children in year 3, year 5 and year 2 doing a small group, and sometimes it's just, okay, let's target a group of year 3 girls with a friendship one, for example. That was a bit stereotypical, but it seems to be a lot what happens. And you know, so it's very, very flexible, but it offers a very clear structure and framework. And you know, I really don't, you know, I've worked in this field a long time. I've worked with social emotional mental health. I've managed alternative provision. I know that what the gaps are, and there isn't anything that's qualitative enough, that is progressive enough, that also supports the adults to do this work. And, you know, that's where the kind of layers of it come.
Completely. Thank you.
It would be so lovely to have a group of you that join us. I think we were talking about trying to get a kind of date, weren't we, to think about if people want to come on board. And then what we would do is offer you an SLA that literally has a set out range of dates. And then what we would do is obviously set up a system where we meet you each of those times to support you with the delivery, the implementation, the data submission, which is easy. It's quite self-explanatory, but obviously we want to build that network. I think that's the beauty of it, rather than just schools buying something off the shelf and then just cracking on. We want to make sure that we are supporting you to support those kids the best we can, because we want to see results. We want to make a difference.